yeah, I just expected it to be a TV show that was very ephemeral and came and went, and the fact that it's means so much is, it's an honor. It's very humbling. I'm very grateful.
Hello, hello, it's me again, Alon Paul. It's been a while since I've made a video on here. I don't know that that matters much because I think this is only like number 4, but I'm back. Um, so last weekend, I attended a fan convention in North Carolina called JemCon, and I wanted to tell you all a little bit about it. So, JemCon is a fan convention based around this 1980s fashion doll slash cartoon that ran from I think like 1985 to 1988. I won't get into all the details of it. The cartoon is streaming on Tubi right now, so you can go watch the whole thing for free if you want to. In such a short amount of time, it had a huge impact on the people that it had an impact on, which a lot of those were baby gays. You know what I mean? Before it was okay to be gay. And she was a hero to a lot of us. In my succession of heroes in my childhood, it went Henrietta Hippo, Brooke Shields, Linda Carter's Wonder Woman, Jem, and then Madonna. So that's how important she was in my sort of growing up. How I got involved in this JemCon, or I became aware of JemCon, is in 2008, I had moved back to Nebraska from the East Coast because I thought that maybe that's where I belonged. Things were just getting too intense for me where I was at, and I needed a big change. I thought maybe I belonged in Nebraska, that the slower pace in life is what I wanted. I was very wrong because there was nothing else to do. I spent a lot of time at the library, surfing the web, what have you. During that time, I came across this website promoting JemCon. This would have been probably the 3rd annual JemCon because I believe the first one was in 2005. As I'm looking through it, looking through the web pages, I see that there's a fashion contest. Anyone could enter, and you designed a souvenir fashion for that year's JemCon. I had nothing better to do, so I entered. It's kind of wild. The computers at the library there had Photoshop on them. So I did that entire design. I think I did the outline of it in ink and then scanned it in, but then did the entire coloring in Photoshop with a mouse. With a mouse. It's wild to me. I entered the contest, and lo and behold, I won. Now, I didn't know what I won for doing this. I think it was just the honor of winning. But they, I'm assuming, wanted you to kind of attend the convention because you were the winner of the souvenir fashion. But it was in LA. And at the time, I had $0 to my name most of the time. It was a very bleak time in Alon's history. I didn't end up going. However, through that, I met my friend Adam. He claims that he got in contact with me first and then found out about the JemCon after. My recollection is I won the contest first and then he got in contact with me after. So I don't know what it is. It doesn't really matter. What matters is I made this friend, Adam Weatherly, and by the way, he has a web show, or he used to have a web show called the Not So Glamorous Adam Weatherly Show, and it is so funny. It's not very many episodes and they're really short. I'll put a link below if you want to go watch it. If you love nostalgia, 80s toys, cartoons, all that kind of stuff, Spice Girls, you'll love it. We have been friends this whole time, right? And I've never attended a JemCon during this whole period. He ended up winning the souvenir fashion contest this year, so we may, like, he knew he was going, and he lives a lot closer to North Carolina, and I was just like, well, I have to go. This was going to be meeting my friend Adam for the first time. Like, we had never met in person. We FaceTimed one time, I think, in 15 years, and we've talked on the phone quite a bit in the beginning, but then, periodically throughout the years. But it was going to be so exciting to get to meet him. So that's how I ended up going to this year's Gem convention, which also ended up being the 20th anniversary and then the 40th anniversary of the actual cartoon series. So it was a great time for me to go. I guess I should start with North Carolina. Now, I've been to North Carolina briefly, but it was usually the Outer Banks, and we just went there literally to go party, and then we'd go to sleep, and then we wake up the next morning and leave. So I didn't really experience a lot of North Carolina. But I had this idea that North Carolina was kind of rough. I don't know if that's true, but it was always my sort of idea of North Carolina. This was in Charlotte. Where the convention was being held was in Embassy Suites, the airport version. I don't know if that's what you call it. But the rooms that you could book there were just 2-room suites. Because I am still unemployed and feel like I'm living on a fixed income, like senior citizen, I thought, well, maybe there's a hotel close where I can just pay for 1 room and it won't cost as much. Well, there was quite a few hotels around there, just like right across the street, and they were all airport versions, and I thought, never staying in an airport version of a hotel, I thought they were all going to be decent, right? So I just book the first one I see that's right across the street, price is right, great. And then about 2 days before leaving, I was strangely anxious about this whole trip. I don't travel very often. The process of traveling stresses me out, so I don't do it very often. Even though I love being there and like experiencing new things, I hate the travel part of it. 2 days before, I start looking at my itinerary so I can make sure I've got everything right and whatever. I stumble upon these reviews of the hotel that I'm staying in, and they are vicious. Like, they're talking about how dirty it is, how much it stinks, like it's gross. And I can handle a lot of stuff, right? I don't need home away from home. I don't care if it's, a little dirty. But then it starts mentioning things like bed bugs and roaches, and I start panicking because I had done it through a website. I was unable to cancel this reservation. At the time that I looked at these reviews, I would have had to have already canceled. Otherwise, I had to at least pay for the first night. Now, if I waited until the next day to cancel, I couldn't cancel. It's non-refundable. So I was stuck with this room. I was freaking out. Anyway, I get there, the flight goes well, everything's fine. I end up going directly to the Embassy Suites because they had said that they might need help setting up. So I thought, it's a little bit early, I can't check in yet, so I'll just go over and help them set up. They had already had everything set up by the time I got there. So rather than just sit there and look like a weirdo with all my bags, I decided I'm just going to go back over to that hotel, check it out, and just find out what I'm dealing with. I get over there. The guy at the desk, he lets me check in early without charging me the $40 fee, which is really nice of him. But when I walked in, it looked like they had not cleaned the carpets since the 90s. It had a real 90s vibe about it, but it looked so murdery everywhere that you went. And I was just like, oh my God, the reviews are correct. Because most of the time I don't take reviews. I take them with a grain of salt. Because it's never people posting reviews because, once in a while it's the good ones. But most of the time it's the bitchy ones. So I get my keys and I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible. I get the key, I go up into my room, and I read a lot of the reviews about the elevator being broken, and they had put me on the 6th floor. So I was like, oh my God, am I going to have to walk up 6 floors in this murder hotel every day? Luckily, the elevator was fine. Actually, the quietest and quickest elevator I've ever ridden in. I swear to God. I thought it was broken because it made absolutely no noise. So, plus for the elevator. I get up there and I step out into the hotel, the hallway, and it looks like something out of a horror movie. It's literally every door looks like it's been scraped by something. The carpet is just stained to oblivion. There's no air conditioning in any of the public areas. And it's North Carolina, so it's a lot more humid. So it's just like muggy. And I mean, I just did not know what I was getting into. And I was so scared. So I get to my room. I open the door. I walk in. And although it wasn't perfect, it was clean. It was still banged up in a lot of places, but it was clean. And the AC worked. I was fine. When you looked around the room, in the words of Melissa McCarthy in Spy, it had a real Martha Stewart had a breakdown kind of feel. Like, it was just old, but it looked like there had never been anything done to fix it up. Like, there was a big scrape in the paint on the wall. They never decided to paint over it. The curtain thingy had big holes in it. It was wild. But the AC worked. I inspected that bed like a crazy person because I've had bed bugs before and I knew what to look for and everything was clean there. And I will say the bathroom was beautiful. It had this big, like, huge, like, round sink area, and it had 2 double doors opening up to it, so it felt very, like, saloon, I guess would be the best way to put it. Like, or not saloon, like old whorehouse maybe. But then, and it had the black and white, like, diamond tiles, which I love. Anyway, the bathroom, I love the bathroom. That made all the difference. The bed was comfy, the TV worked. So a lot of the things that I'd read in the bad reviews, I mean, I may have just got lucky, but it was not nearly as bad as the reviews said. So there's a lesson that you can't always take reviews at face value. You still got to try it out. Don't make assumptions, which I do all the time. But anyway, so after getting all checked into the hotel, at 5 o'clock was when registration was open. I walked back over, and can I just tell you, North Carolina, at least in this area, does not believe in crosswalks or like crossing signs. And every road I had to cross, you were just taking your life into your own hands, because it was like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4-way stop. It was insane, and I never knew which way cars were coming from, who had the red light, whatever. And then the only store that I had to choose from was, unless I wanted to eat in the Embassy Suites every single day, was a Circle K across the street. But the street was like a highway, so I had to like play Frogger across the street. It was insanity. Anyhow, so I go over to get checked in, and I'm standing in line. It's so fun to see all the Jem t-shirts and all of the wigs and everything like that. And I stand in line, and I met my first convention friends, Charla and Chris. They were a couple. They were so, like, I hung out with them throughout the whole convention, along with my friend Adam, of course, and then a friend Terry, which I'll tell you about him later. So we start talking, and it was so surreal to be sitting there talking with people who wanted to talk about Jem, who wanted to do deep dives on this character and this doll. And it was so wild to me because, I mean, I have definitely talked about Jem to other people, but it's very much like, oh, it's my thing, and people sort of tune out within minutes of talking about it. They knew things that I didn't even know. You know what I mean? Or they had paid attention. I guess they had just binged a few episodes before coming, so, which I'm definitely going to do next year. I'm actually thinking about watching episodes and video my responses. So if you're interested in seeing that, let me know. Anyhow, so we end up sitting and talking and what have you. We get registered and then we have some cocktails and we go into the big convention room, which is all decked out with so much gem stuff. It's the first time that I had ever seen all of the dolls out of their boxes and just sort of, set up, and they had like little dioramas set up. It was just awesome. And they had both the Integrity dolls, which is like the remakes that came out a few years ago that were really expensive. They were like $200-300, I think. I'm not really sure. And then plus they had the old 1980s Hasbro dolls, so it was amazing. So we sat down. It was sort of opening ceremonies, and they, told us about what was going to be happening and welcoming us and all that good stuff, whatever. And then she walked in. Britta Phillips. Now, Britta Phillips is the singing voice of Jem. And she was also in a movie called Satisfaction from the 80s. And it also starred Julia Roberts, and Liam Neeson was in it. It wasn't really well received, and Justine Bateman, if you know who Jason Bateman is, it's his sister. And it was about a bunch of rock and roll chicks. And Britta Phillips played a character called Billy, the drug addicted guitar player, the young one, the fun one. Like, she was awesome. I'm so surprised, that she didn't get more accolades for doing that part. She was definitely what I watched the movie for. But anyway, so I've been following Britta Phillips for a while, because when I found out, I didn't find out until I was probably 20 something, that Britta Phillips was the voice of Jem as well, the singing voice of Jem. And it answered a lot of questions as to why I loved her singing voice so much in the movie Satisfaction. Well, because she was Jem's singing voice. And then also Samantha Newark was there, and Samantha Newark was the talking voice of Jem. Sadly, I didn't interact with her as much. She seems wonderful, and she is so into these fans, and she plays up the part, and she does little sayings from the cartoon all the time. But I was more obsessed with meeting Britta Phillips. I couldn't help it. Next time, I'm going to make an effort to interact with Samantha Newark a lot more, because she seems lovely. Anyhow, so I see her sitting across the room, and I get starstruck so easy. And Britta Phillips is probably in the top 10 of people that I wanted to meet in my lifetime. And so it was awesome, and she's flitting about, whatever. So then they do a Gem trivia. So wherever you were sitting, it was like your team, and there was someone who, I don't know how old this person was. Their name was Raina. They knew so much about Gem. It was like idiot savant about Gem. It blew my mind. Doing that trivia, it was the hardest trivia I've ever done in my life. And I thought I knew Gem. I didn't know shit. I felt like I had never even seen Gem after watching this. I think we came in somewhere around third place, though, because of this Raina person who was knew details. And then after that, they did karaoke. And at this point, I've had a few cocktails. Something I found out about myself with drinks is I've always wondered why I'm always the drunkest person in the room. I mean, I do drink too fast, I'll give you that. But even when I'm drinking with people, I'm like, why am I always the drunkest person? And what I figured out is what happens is I want everybody to have a super good time. Now, if that means that I have to buy drinks for everybody, I will buy drinks for everybody. The problem is every time I buy a drink for somebody, I also buy a drink for myself, because it's usually a shot or something like that. So I am having twice, sometimes 3 times as many drinks as everybody else is. And Then all of a sudden, I'm shit-faced, and I don't know why. Well, I figured out that's why. And that was the whole thing. I wanted to buy drinks for all of my new gym friends. Like, it was so ridiculous. So, anyhow, get a little lit, and they're starting to sing karaoke. And wouldn't you know, Britta Phillips comes in a gem wig, in a gem little costume, and she starts singing like her favorite gem songs. Can I tell you? And this is 40 years ago that she did this at 18 years old, and she can still hit those high notes. Like, it was brilliant. Still has beautiful voice. So I end up signing up for karaoke, but in true Alon form, it was taking a long time. Like, there was a long queue. I felt myself getting drunk, and I knew that I was going to get up there and make a fool of myself because I was going to sing the song Friend or Stranger, which is my personal favorite gem song, and I completely forgot the words. I even had I pulled up the lyrics on my phone because they had them, but I just couldn't keep up. I kind of disappeared before my name got called. And then it was so sweet. Like, all of these people were texting me, sending me Facebook Messenger messages saying, hey, you're up next. Like, they just called your name. But thank God that I left, because it would have been ridiculous trying to see me sing that song. But anyway, so that was the end of day one, and it was amazing. So day two, I get up, have breakfast, and mind you, the breakfast at the hotel that I stayed at, it was good. Like, I mean, maybe some people would think it might not be sanitary, but it looked like everything was good to me, and I'm not a germaphobe. It was good. They had bagels, cream cheese, they had little breakfast sandwiches, so it was good. I'm really going to write a review for them that I'll point out the bad parts too, or not the bad parts, but I'll be honest about it. But, you know, if all they get is bad reviews and nobody ever stays in these hotels, then how are they ever going to have enough money to do renovations? So go stay at these hotels and help them out. Anyway, because it really wasn't that bad. So, second day, we show up, and it's panels from 10 o'clock on. And there was a few little vendors. I ended up buying a VHS set for a friend of mine. Had nothing to do with Gem, but it was nice to support these people who sell physical media. So we go into the panels, and this was the day that I sat through all the panels. And I don't always do panels, or because I've been to a few, or I've been to work conventions, or conferences, and the panels just bore the shit out of me. I hate it. But this one was so fun. The very first one was a toy maker and toy design. So they had a toy designer from the 80s, and then they had a toy designer from this company called TLS, the Loyal Subjects, who they are they're revamping old toy lines, licenses. They've done Gem, and then they're doing Mask right now. I don't know if anybody remembers Mask. I think My Buddy was on there, Popples. I don't know all of them, but they're really fun. And it was so cool to listen to how things have changed since the 80s. Because the woman in the 80s, everything was hand drawn, all of her designs and everything, and they had a little PowerPoint that had all of their old drawings and that kind of thing. And then the newer ones, it's all digitally done, and they were just talking about the pros and cons of each and all this stuff. It was awesome. The biggest thing that stood out to me, though, is in the 80s, this woman who worked there, she went to school for illustration. All of her, she just sort of fell into toy design, and I thought that was so interesting, and it was I wish that would have been me. But then, on the flip side, the woman from TLS, she went to school specifically for toy design. Isn't that wild? Apparently there's a program at FIT in New York that is toy design. And I just thought that was really interesting. And quite honestly, so I ended up talking to the toy design lady over the lunch hour. And we sat and had, like, we just talked and talked. Actually, my friend Adam was the one talking to her. And then I sort of weaseled my way in. But we were talking about, you know, the critics of the new dolls. And it finally, you know, it came to me that the people that criticize it for not having this and not having this and not doing this, it's, you know, we were kids when these dolls came out, right? The original 1980s Hasbro dolls came out. And there's a certain emotional attachment to that, right? There's a certain way they made us feel. There's a certain, you know, just being a kid, like that feeling of being a kid. I think a lot of times when we see these remakes or revamps, we expect that they are going to give us that feeling, or we want them to give us that feeling, but they don't. But it's because we're not in the same place in our life. It's not the toy's fault. Like, she explained, like, why they made certain changes to the colors of the outfit, how they changed the body to make it a more realistic woman's body, why they didn't have the blonde rooted hair underneath it. Like, there was a lot of things that she pointed out. And almost instantly, I looked at those dolls much differently. And I was looking at them as an interpretation of those original dolls and not, that's supposed to give me the same feeling I felt when I was 9 years old, you know? But anyway, once again, live and learn, and I love it. So, and there's so many coming out, and I hate collecting shit because I don't got space for it. I have to get these dolls. They are just wonderful. Anyhow, so lots of panels, lots of fun stuff. Well, then at around 5 o'clock, we broke for dinner and then got ready for the evening's event, which was the cosplay contest. I got dressed up as Rio. He was my cosplay. And I thought it was the shit. I was just like, you are amazing. And then I walked into that room and saw the amazing cosplays. I mean, I was still happy with what I did, and I was the only, I think I was the only traditional Rio. But there was so many great costumes, and the theme was culture clash. So you could do traditional, or you could do like a mashup of two characters or two themes. There was a really cool Jem, Jerica, and Rio, but mashed with, what do you call it, Nightmare on Elm Street. So it was like a nightmare. It was so cool. She had a glittery claw hand. It was awesome. So my favorite of the cosplays was this Italian man. He had done, it was kind of simple actually, but he had done sort of a male version of Aja, one of her costumes in like the second season. And I just loved it. It looked so good. And I think that next year when I go, I'm going to do the Rio again. It's just sort of a walk around costume. And then, but I'm going to do some of the like female characters, but sort of adapt their costumes to male costumes, like for a male body. And I think that should be kind of fun. I will probably be doing sketches, so stay tuned. We ended up doing the contest, and once again, I started drinking too soon. I started with beer, and I was just like, I'm just gonna have beer, I'm not gonna get crazy. But then I look across the room and I see Terry. Now Terry, I met through Adam, and because I was looking to see if anybody had extra fashion that I had designed. So from that 2008, because I never got one, so I wanted to get one of those fashions so I would have it, right? Well, he had given it to me, and initially I think it was going to cost $30, something like that, and he just gave it to me. He's like, just buy me a drink later. I was like, oh, you have no idea. So we ended up, I went and got shots of tequila and went over to the table. I was like, hey, we're having shots. Well, then another person that I had recognized from Facebook and I'm sure knew through all of this gem stuff, Michael, he was there at the table, and I'm like, well, I can't not get him one. So then I went and got another one, and then the party was on. And I don't think that I remember much of the fashion show. I got up and did my modeling, and even though there was costumes way better than mine, a lot of people commented on how great they thought the jacket was, that it looked just like the doll's jacket, which is funny because I did a video sort of packaging Temu stuff, and that was in it, and I was mortified. I thought it was going to be shit. It ended up working out really well. If you want to watch that video, it's on my page somewhere. It's called Temu Binge. Anyway, so we ended up drinking. The bar closed. The hotel bar closed at 11, and we're in North Carolina, so they've got ABC stores, so you can't buy alcohol after 9 o'clock. And so it was well past 9 o'clock, and for whatever reason, I just felt like, oh my God, I have to drink as much as possible before 11. Does everybody else with me? And so much. And it wasn't like it was tequila. So they finally closed the bar down. And Charla, the person that I had met in the line, she's like, they got some 80s music going. We got to go dance. I go, and you don't got to tell me twice. And I started dancing. Now, anybody who knows me knows when I dance, especially if I've been drinking, I'm like, if you've ever seen the movie Showgirls, when she first gets fired, or no, she gets mad because Crystal Connors tells her that she's not dancing, or whatever, but they go to the club and she's dancing like insane. That's how I dance, especially when I've had some cocktails. So anyway, I go out and I start dancing, and then I look across the dance floor, and guess who is dressed up like Jem in an actual costume that's like based from the cartoon, and across the way dancing, it's Britta Phillips. And at that point, I am just like, I'm going to go dance with her. I start doing, so there's this sort of signature dance that I do with women that it's sort of a cross between swing dancing and line dancing is the only thing that I can think to describe it. But then it always ends with this big like lift jump, right? Now this can go badly depending on how drunk I am, depending on how I, don't gauge somebody's, weight or whatever. I could fall down, I could drop it, whatever. But I still felt the need to walk over to her. But I didn't pick her up. I don't think that she wanted to be picked up like that way. I think I just lifted her, which was enough to probably scare the shit out of her. But anyway, then I turn around and there's this woman dancing behind me, and she is getting into it. And I'm like, oh, she'll do the lift. We start doing it, and we are dancing like crazy people. And then at some point, I feel like they formed like a circle around us, which don't ever do that, because the minute that I get that spotlight in my brain, oh my God, it is on for me. So anyway, dancing. At some point, I had taken my wig off. Well, I was wearing like a girdle because I felt fat, and because I was stupid, and ultimately the girdle made me look fatter, and you could see it through the Rio shirt. It was awful. But anyway, I ended up taking that off, and I'm just upset about it. And then I pull my wig off, and I just throw it, right? Well, I don't know what happened, if Britta's wig had fallen off, or if I literally just walked over her and snatched it off her head and threw it. But at some point, I had Britta Phillips' wig in my hand, and I threw it. I don't know if I threw it up or across the room. I just remember throwing it. And I cannot believe that I did that. In my head at the time, I remember thinking, we need to be free of these wigs. We don't need, it's so stupid. But anyway, I ended up throwing it. And we ended up, it was ending, right? The whole dance party thing was ending. I think it went till midnight. So then I go out into the hotel lobby, and I follow people outside, and we smoke a little weed. Not a good idea. Why I ever think that's a good idea when I'm drunk is beyond me, because all of a sudden fun drunk turns into emotional, I want to get real deep with everybody kind of drunk. And that's exactly what happened. And these poor, good sports, very good sports, sat there and listened to me like, I don't even know what I was saying. But then luckily, my very sober friend Adam was there, who had been there the whole time and just sort of like a little guardian angel watching over me. Thank God for him. But he ended up coming over and just saying, hey, let's get you home safe. We walked in. He was also staying in another hotel across the street, so we just sort of walked over there, and then I got home and no more damage was done. So anyway, that was the second night. So on Sunday morning, I wake up and I am mortified. I have no idea. Well, I have an idea of what I did, but not to what extent. And I'm just like, and I just laid in bed. Like, it was probably like 6 a.m. when I woke up, and I just laid in bed like, oh my God, I cannot go face those people. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, all I remember, it was a mess. So anyhow, I end up going, my friend Adam calls me that morning at 9:30ish and says, hey, I'm already over here. And I'm like, I'm not even out of bed. And like, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to go. I was so worried that I had done something awful. I didn't even know if I wanted to go. Like, I was so worried about what I had done and, you know, how I acted. Like, I don't know. So anyhow, I end up heading over and we sit at a table, and they had some sort of virtual panels happening. They had the original model who modeled for the doll box art for the character Rio, which was sort of fun to watch just because I would say every man that I've ever had any real interest in life, he's always had a Rio quality to him based on that doll art. Some personality, but mostly that doll art. To see the real person, I mean, he's a lot older now, but to see the real person and to see like other modeling things that he did, it was kind of wild to see Rio in real life. But anyhow, so I had planned on apologizing to Britta for anything that I had done, but when I saw her at her table, she was wearing sunglasses. So Samantha Newark and Britta Phillips had like tables to get autographs and to get your picture taken with them and all that. And on that third day, she was standing there with big sunglasses on, and I'm like, oh, she might be hungover. I don't want to, if I did piss her off or irritate her, I just don't want to irritate her anymore, so I'm just going to leave it be. So we sat there, and Adam was having to leave early that day. They had checked out of their hotel, and they had to leave, his boyfriend and him. I was like, well, I'll just stick it out until Adam gets there. Or Adam leaves, and then I'll just go back to my room and I'll just skip the closing ceremony things tonight. So I end up hanging out until about 1 o'clock, but then I'm starving. I'm like, I'm gonna go get something to eat, and then I'll come back when you're getting ready to leave. And when I came back around 2 o'clock, there was a woman sitting at the bar, and she was an Irish lady that I had met the night before. And then I remembered that in my stupor, the bar was closed and we were all getting ready to leave, and she had like a bottle of champagne that had barely anything drink out of it, and she just gave it to me. Then I'm walking around and I'm drinking fucking champagne out of a bottle, thinking that I'm so cool. I'm sure that's exactly what it looked like. The pictures say differently. She's sitting at the bar, and she tells me, she's like, you were so much fun last night. I want your email. I don't do social media, but I would love your email. And if you ever want to come visit Ireland, you just tell me what airport you're at and I'll come pick you up. So sweet. It's so nice. Like, I don't know. It was just awesome. So I was just like, I can't drink today. I am too, like, whatever. But apparently I had just a good time. And it was also funny because they had posted, like, the girdle and the wig that they had found in the room, and they put it on whatever their message. I don't know who it went to, but It was like, somebody can come claim these. This means that we had a really good time. Anyhow. So I ended up going back to the hotel room after Adam left, and after talking to this Irish woman who took my email, and she says she's going to be sending me pictures in the next couple of weeks. I really hope that she does. So I go back to the hotel room, and I was going to go back, but then I was like, I just can't. And I felt really bad because there was a lot of people that I could have said goodbye to, and just because I was stupid, you know what I mean? That I didn't end up going back. But the next day I fly out. I'm upset that I had been inappropriate, what have you. And then I get a message from the other girl that I had been dancing with. And she says, when Britta was asked what one of her highlights was from the JemCon, she mentioned Dancing with Rio, which was me. But she didn't know if I was there. She didn't know my name. And then this other woman that I had been dancing with that night, she screamed out, "It's Alon Paul!" Yeah, it was just instant relief. I'm like, thank God. I didn't irritate one of my idols. So anyhow, and then I started actually posting things on social media, and then some of the other coordinators were, chiming in and saying, you were just having a good time on your first JemCon, and 2 of the VIPs mentioned you as someone who was a highlight. That made me feel so much better, but also stupid for not showing up. That was my moment. And because I was too afraid to confront the issue, I didn't get to see that in person. But anyway, it was great. And since then, Britta Phillips has commented on my social media feeds and all that kind of stuff. I feel very just relieved with that. And I'm very happy. It was so exciting to see her commenting on my stuff. So that was my JemCon experience in a nutshell. One thing that I really took away from this was, I've always been this person who feels like I want to be the odd one out. I don't really know why I do that. I want to be the person who's different, or, I don't know how to explain. The original, I guess. I don't know. The unusual one. This experience showed me how great it can be to be around a lot of like-minded individuals if you're there with just a positive mindset. There was not one negative sort of vibe in that whole room, aside from, I think his name is John Steven. He was MC / drag performer, amazing. And when people were getting out of line, he put them in their place. I wouldn't necessarily call that negative, but it was so fun to watch. It is so hard to find a place where there is nothing but happiness and positivity happening. And it's almost like an overdose. I didn't and you don't realize it until then you get back into the real world and people are rude assholes and everybody's got a scowl on their face, and it really makes you sad because you're like, oh my God. It was for 3 days, I was in this positivity bubble, and it is amazing what that does for your psyche. Do I wish that I wouldn't have drank as much? Yes. But would I have been as daring as to, try to swing dance with Jem had I not? That was the biggest thing that I got out of it, is super positivity, and over something that has brought me so much joy, and to meet other people who get that much joy out of it, that is worth any amount of money that you want to charge me. Next year, because I'm definitely going, it's in San Diego. I am going to plan a whole vacation around it because I can go. I've always wanted to go to San Diego Zoo. I don't know how people feel about zoos, but they're my zen place. And I've always wanted to go to San Diego Zoo, so I'm going to go early so I can have a day at San Diego Zoo. If there's any other JemCon attendees watching this, I would love it if we sort of had a little group day. I don't think I'm going to drink during the events. Like, I'm going to try, like, because I love drinking and I love drinking with people and having a good time, but I'm definitely going to like monitor my drinking a little better or just start later or something. Just because it gets out of hand way too quickly with me. I have no tolerance. I've been trying so many years to have a tolerance to alcohol and it just doesn't happen. And I don't drink enough anymore to like know how to behave when I'm under the influence, as if I ever did. And I think I'm going to set up a little wet bar in my hotel room because I will definitely, next time I will definitely be staying in whatever the hotel is. I don't care how much it costs. I don't care if it's 30 room suites. I will be staying in the hotel that the party's happening at because I do feel like I was a little disconnected because of that. Have maybe a watch party in the room, something like that. Like I would love to watch the Jem cartoon with other Jem fans. I'm thinking I might make a little like coloring sheets or something because on that last day when we were in the convention that morning, Adam had pulled out all of his drawings because he was donating some things to the charity auction. And I was just like, it was so fun. Everybody was coming over and looking. I think it might be a fun like activity for people to just sort of get together and color, you know? That's what, I mean, I love doing that. But yeah, but I'm definitely going. I feel like when I had an astrology reading at the beginning of the year, I get one every year. Natalie, Ivette, I think I'll put her link if you want a really good astrologist. It's a little pricey. I mean, I don't know if it's pricey for astrology readings, but it's worth it. I get one done every year and I don't know what I would do without it. But during that astrology reading, she said that sometime between June of 2025 and June of 2026, you're going to have more than you've ever wanted. And it's going to come from you socializing and getting out there and meeting people or whatever. And this felt so much like it could be that. So we'll see what comes of all of that. So anyway, thank you to everybody who put together JemCon this year. I know that it couldn't be easy. I'm so excited for next year, and I see that Britta Phillips and Samantha Newark are both going to be there, and I've got some little ideas of things that I want to bring to the table. I'm planning my own big party for January, but once that's done, all that energy that I'm putting into planning this January party is going to go into helping them with JemCon if I can do anything for them. So anyway, thank you all for listening to me go on about my weekend, and take care.